Just be sure you can blurb out, anything that I accidentally not say. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm gonna run through. Let me just minimize these guys. Kevin, if you're sticking around, and okay, so now that we've kind of gone through our round robin and kind of know some people, we have some newbies here and some very not so newbies. Y'all been doing this a long time, so this is, comps are like, they're not a solid thing, and the information I'm given is also not a solid thing. It's a very fluid topic, so just chime in, or if you have any additional things you want to say, please do. It's a very interactive class, so that's the kind of classes I want to teach.
Yeah, I'll make them less than I mean, it could be easy to find the lecture. Search and finding what's out there, and then going through them. What doesn't you learn that I'm not to just see or not, and narrowing it down. So problem is part about when you can't find things. So that's the other thing. But it's still be more difficult because I don't know what kind of range of X to Z or whatever, and then I want to be the person that see the house.
Yeah, so actually on that note, I'll say here's kind of the learning outcomes that we're going to talk about. One of the things that I was going to talk about, Kevin just led into. So we're going to talk about what I call a market analysis versus the CMA. So a CMA is essentially your comps. So they say 3 comps, right? Sometimes we have another 1 or 2, but we're looking for what they call 3 comps. A market analysis is more of like, I call it a 90-day overview of whatever's going on in that market within a mile or a half a mile, or however you decide you want to, put those restrictions on it. But you can't really do comps on a property you haven't walked. So as Kevin said, what you do is somebody rings you and says, hey, Brooklyn, I want you to give me comps on my house. Well, I can't do that, but what I can do is I can run you a 90-day market analysis of everything that's been going on, from active, what's under contract, and what's closed, and then I can come do a walkthrough on your property, and then we can try and narrow focus what that number looks like. Number one thing that should be ringing off your ears is getting an appointment. That is your in to get in the home, right? So I can't give you comps. I'm not going to tell you what I would list your house out over the phone. Let me come in and walk your property, because we need to see it. We got to put our eyes on what the product is. Kevin's neck of the woods, I mean, houses change differently from house to house. The style, you're seeing houses get old lots being knocked down and new houses put up. I mean, those things will change the value of a house, and they could be sitting right next to each other. So it's really, all that. So and we'll go through kind of what you should be looking for. I'm also going to click over to, I stole some stuff from an appraiser teacher for Trek, and the handouts that I gave you are from her. And then I'm going to pop over to one of her classes I took where she has some notes on adjustments. So we can just take some notes on how do we adjust when we need to try and come up with a number for that property. So we're going to go through some of that, but I wanted to touch on that because Kevin just had a lead in. So there's a difference in a market analysis and a CMA, which is essentially a comparative market analysis. It's a very more narrow focus, intentional number that you've done your research on, and you've narrowed down those properties. A market analysis is very much more general. What's going on in my neighborhood? Am I the only one on the market? Oh, you have 5 houses active. Those are kind of the things that we'll see. And so I'll do one. I'm going to run through this little slide that I put together, and then I'll do one, and then we're going to start doing them. So did somebody say something? Oh, sure.
I don't know. Reminded me of with range analyzing.
So,
for instance, quarter mile, neighborhood section, streets. How do you justify that with them?
well, so I'm going to give you some guidelines that you can flex on, and Kevin runs comps a little differently than I do. I'm going to teach you guys how I've been taught. And that's what I do in my listing presentation. I will take my computer and I mean, people do everything different, right? But I'll just show them. I'll say, okay, so here, well, I'll just say, let's go through the houses and let's see where they're let's see where they are in price wise versus what your house is. What is the condition of that house? And of course, we're doing a lot of it on pictures and verbiage, but then we kind of work through it together so that they can see what you're doing. It's not a science. I show them exactly what I do. I'll do it. What we do today, I'll do it for them right there. You know, this is how we come up with this. Well, if there's anything I can do, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to give you any advice I have, or maybe you might learn something to take away from today. Kevy Poo?
Well, so what we're doing is just like we're trying to find we do the one that appraiser business. We basically but all that an appraiser does. He takes that or he adjusts that. But you know, we just want to find a value based on how the appraiser. They don't go too far away. They don't go, you know, too far back. You know, they do if they have to, but we're saying that you can't find anything correct. But they try to as close to radius and as close similar products. So
And I'm going to give you those notes on here. So if you want to make notes, I mean, I would be more than happy to share my little goofy presentation, but if you just jot them down, or actually, I think Alicia might. Ideally, I wanted you guys to have kind of this guideline list, and then I was going to make some notes for some adjustments that I'll show you. I'd encourage you to write them down just so you have them. If Alicia, I had asked her if she would take some notes, because then maybe we can just print them out and everybody can take them and you can just stack it away and when pull it out whenever you feel like you need to do a comp for somebody, and you have the little guidelines and some adjustments, and kind of just try and work. And it's honestly, it takes doing it a lot before you really get comfortable with it, because I dive pretty deep into data. So I'm going to do my traditional comps like we're going to do today. I go to tax roll. We're looking at stuff there. Sometimes use RPR if I want to, you know, and so there's a lot to it. But like Kevin said, the idea is that we're able to get a property that will somewhat align with what it's going to be appraised for. And that matters. I'm not going to go super hard on appraisal stuff. I gave some, because that's a whole, we'll be here forever.
I mean, it's some of our opinion when we're narrowing it down, but it's based on data.
Yeah, data.
Somebody can't really argue. Even if you take, you know, you can price this for a range and come up with a range before you come up with a suggestion.
So it's a bad gig if you put out, when you put your range out and your appraiser comes this way.
It can cause major issues. It can cause you to lose listings. It can cause your buyers to lose money. It can do a lot of things. So being way off is not good.
Well, but that's what our job. What's an appraisal? Clients to, you know, that I've got appraisal. I'm going to even order a new appraisal.
So on that note, guys, I swear we did not plan this. I had two fancy printouts that I stole from a lady that teaches for Trek, and this one is called Quick Tips for Challenging a Bad Appraisal. I'm not going to go through it, but I wanted y'all to have it. There's an opening paragraph and a closing paragraph. So use this if you feel like you need a rebuttal of an appraisal. Obviously, if you've never done one before, call somebody, myself, Kevin. Hey, I think I want to rebuttal this. You're going to work with the lender in doing that. There are steps and things that we would need to do, but we do rebuttal appraisals. I typically lose, but sometimes you don't. And so, but I liked this. I saw this printout and I thought, hey, if I thought y'all might like it. So just stash it away. Yeah, a lot of appraisals are meeting. Derek has told me he's been seeing some issues on the lending side. But I, as an agent to agent talk, I mean, I feel like they've been meeting too. So,
In this market, it's
Uh-huh.
actually not as big.
good.
At least in multiple office situations, help guide my seller to make sure we take the type of ones that have the appraisal waiver addendum.
Sure.
That's what we have to do that didn't quite appraise. That my seller should have keep their money, the buyer was willing to pay the difference, and that worked out.
Pricing, because the appraiser, well, I don't know if you can see my offers and.
Yeah, it's a and that's like a marketing demand thing, and then that's some stuff that appraisers take into consideration whenever they do those appraisals.
So
So,
I think you're right on that. We haven't lost this too much. I only have one thing in short.
since this isn't like appraisal, so it's hard to talk about CMAs and not appraisals. So I'm not surprised that we will, but I will say the other printout I gave you guys is what to include in an appraisal packet. It's funny, normally as a listing agent, we'll leave an appraisal packet at our listing for the appraiser. What does that include? Well, it includes all this stuff here. It's going to include comps, multiple offers, the contract, addenda, upgrades, all of the things that you want an appraiser to know of why you have your house listed the way you do. The market shifted so much that buyer's agents are kind of doing this, right? Because we want them to meet so badly. We don't want a discrepancy. So it's funny, but typically you do this as a listing agent, leave it at your listing, email it to the appraiser. A lot of times people ask like, oh, can I talk to the appraiser? Actually, you can talk to the appraiser. You cannot technically use the word value with them and talk about value, but you can engage with them. You can email them. What I do with my listing packets is if I can't get out on property when they schedule on CSS, I just email it to them and put a nice little note. Hey, this is kind of, this is what we use to come up with where we're at. We got multiple offers. I went ahead and drafted up, just my little side-by-side of what those look like and just leave it there. You don't have to do that, but some people do y'all do listing packets? Anybody here do like listing packets, appraisal packets? Anyone?
Yeah. I think it's needed.
Okay. Absolutely, every time. Yes. Yes, absolutely. It will be. I did not go right through that list finite, but this is what I've always used as my guide. So if it doesn't say upgrade list, definitely an upgrade list. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so learning outcomes. What are CMAs? What's a market analysis? Who does them? Who receives them? What are the guidelines we should follow? Why do our comps matter? Which we kind of already touched on. Again, I'm not going into appraisals real big, but our comps matter because, well, we already had that conversation. It matters because we need it to align with reality. So that's why comps matter, okay? Because it just, especially when you're talking about financing. When if you're talking about cash, the value of a property is worth the dollar that they're willing to pay for it. But when a bank's paying for it, it's a little different. So I'll answer that question for us now. Why do they matter? And it's typically to, come up with a fair list price and align that with the appraisers the best we can. So market value definition. I put this on here because I kind of thought it was funny. It says the estimated amount for which a property should exchange for on the date of the valuation. So I started thinking about that, and from the time you go under contract till you get an appraisal can be sometimes 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Well, things can change in 2 weeks, and sometimes even for the better. You might do your comps. I present it to you. It takes us a week to get on market. Just your make ready. Before you know it, 3 weeks have gone by, and things are happening. Things are closing, and you might find some additional supported comps. And in a different market, it could bite you on the back end because you might get something that kills you too. So it's good to know what that means. And that happens the day the appraiser goes out. That's the day that they're putting the value of the house on. So sometimes that's 3 weeks since you've presented comps to your client, and just know that things could change and they may be pulling some stuff on that appraisal that you're going, well, why is that there? Well, that happened within the last 3 weeks. You just didn't know it because we've moved on from there. Yeah.
And sometimes there are 25 other offers on the house. How does the appraiser know that?
Well, so I would tell them, so they have access to MLS, first of all. So if you put it in MLS, multiple offers received, best and final, of course, we're not putting 25 in there. They don't. So that would be when you would want to open up that line of communication with the appraiser, and this is the best way to do it.
Okay.
I mean, you could call them probably and say, hey, I just wanted you to know that there were 25 offers.
But you usually
Nick, you call it?
You definitely do it then, but more so just up front. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. But you can't, the whole idea is that sometimes agents think that they can't engage with appraisers. Well, I've done this 8 years and I've had very little engagement with appraisers, but you can. That's the thing. Like you can't, it's not like illegal for you to have a conversation with them.
Can you give the information or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll always call people back. I mean, I just, appraisers, they're not really supposed to talk about that. There's some rules and things, they can talk about it.
Sure.
So if you're nice, I like people actually, you know, be talking about this. A lot of it, about the house, the cost of pay, the value. And you can provide that to them, leave it back there, of upgrade. Send me a list of everything you've done.
Absolutely.
Like everything needed, and then I provide that to you. Because you know this. Whatever. That helps.
And he does like a quick inspection on the place.
I could have thought about, I wasn't going to go into it too much. I was going to see appraisal packet, yay or nay. Let's see. Let's see if I put one together. This is on a house I closed just a few months ago, but hey, we have one, so we'll look at it. This is my note to the appraiser. So this is what I said. This is the address. I put together an appraisal packet to assist you. I'll give this to y'all if you need it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just be like, hey, Brooklyn, send me that appraisal packet and you can have it, right? Okay, perfect. I mean, I literally just put it together. So here's my updates. Now you will see here, there's not specific dates, but I do like that. I prefer it if you can tell me. And then I went ahead and print out and add to this the realist tax information. Just I give this to all my clients. It's just part of my thing. And then let's see what else. Okay, so I included the full contract for this. Don't know what happened there. Let's see what else I included. Their addendums. We have a partial waiver addendum for that. I want them to know that, right? Oh man. Oh God, that's another conversation too, Meredith, but I will gladly no, girl. This is a round table. This is what this is about. Okay, but I will tell you this right here is like an hour in its own, and what this is saying is that, and I don't know, I think that they offered $330. They're just saying as long as it appraises for $319, they'll pay us $330. So it's a guarantee of money. Okay, I always put in the seller's disclosure. I mean, just kind of part of the packet. It was just kind of how I was taught. I just give them everything. I'm like okay, so here's what I did here. So I had multiple offers. And so I just pulled the first page that's showing what the offers were. They can see the different names there. So I'm just showing them, hey, look, I got multiple offers. Okay. And I probably told him that in that letter. When I'm a listing agent, I have multiple offers. Sometimes you have 20. I keep it in an Excel sheet, and you can easily share the Excel sheet with them as well. I would probably just say, hey, we had 40 offers. Here's a few examples, and that's how I do it. So this is what an appraisal packet would look like in relation to what I had y'all print out, and you can just use this information, or if you ever needed anything, if you have a question about it, just let me know. But that's exactly what it looks like when I send it.
We do that for everyone.
I'm kind of like Trina, like not everyone. So like this was my cousin's house. We had multiple offers. We weren't really worried about it. And that's why I said yay or nay. Do you want me to or not? Sometimes I give them the option. I don't know if it's a desperate look, like, hey, I feel like I overpriced it, so I'm just trying to sell you on it. Or I don't know what I've been taught by the lady who I stole some of this information from, who is an appraiser. She's a teacher with TAR, NAR, TREC, all those things, is that she thinks that it's helpful for us to give the appraisers that information. Okay, so that's why I do it. But I think it's kind of up to you. I also think it's a good look. I personally do for your clients, because they're like, hey, I mean, look, she's kind of going above and beyond, you know? I mean,
You're willing to work.
sure, because we want it to make value. We want it to, we don't want to have any issues there. Okay, a market analysis. I went through that with y'all. I don't know, does anybody that's a long-time agent, do you do market analysis? Is your theory the same as mine? It sounded like maybe kind of Kevin's lined up. And what I mean is, like, when you go to present numbers to a person, especially if you've never been in the house, we don't give them comps beforehand, but you can give them a market analysis, which is essentially a screenshot of everything that's going on right now or within the last 90 days of their property. We'll keep the area and kind of some of those specifics as closed in as we can, but we want to see it all. Where comps are only solds, this is going to be, I check every box: active, active contingent, active option, because I want to know. It formulates, it can give you so much information just knowing that. One of the addresses I'm going to use as an example, or that we're going to work on as a group, I have a few addresses I'm going to throw out, and we can work through some comps together. I think we'll laugh at how many of us come up with different numbers, but I think it'll help us learn. One of them I think is going to be on a listing Colleen has, and what I found to be funny about that, and you guys will too, is whenever you pull it up, they don't have any competition. And that's why we do that. Like, right? Like, we want to know that we're the only house active within a mile, or even 2 almost, if we don't push it to 2. But for us to gain knowledge, I will push the limits. I just try and figure everything out with data. I'm just like, okay, well, so 2 miles out and we're still the only one, like, okay, this is good. This is good. Like, and houses are selling this fast. Okay, this is going to be good. And so that's why, so we'll see, we can use that address, and we'll see what we come up with. We kind of already went through this. It's a very focused and very intentional, and you know, Kevin and I are definitely different, but he's like, yeah, you know, let's don't overcomplicate it. And I'm totally with him. I'm going to give you some parameters that I think that you should stick with, that are going to align with what we think appraisers are going to be using as well. And you can make it you can do as much or as little as you want to come up with the numbers, as long as you come up with the right one, right? Or close to that. Okay, I do always say, who gets a CMA? I think it's funny because we don't always know this, but everybody gets a CMA, and that includes tenants technically. So the Texas Real Estate Commission says that CMAs have to be delivered to all clients. That means sellers, buyers, landlords, and tenants. I made a comment about how I've done probably close to 250 leases, and I've never done a CMA for them because I didn't know I was supposed to. So I started putting this together for us. And I was like, oh, okay, I think I might want to tell everybody that. Yeah, so I found that to be, well, upon further investigation, the broker is 100% responsible for any CMA that we send out. So that is why probably some of the brokers do require it, is they're like, oh, it's who does a CMA? So brokers and licensed real estate agents are who can do CMAs. You may hear the term BPO, and I'm just bringing it up, but it is a BPO, broker's price opinion. It's essentially a CMA. If you hear the word BPO, they used to do them a lot. I'm 8 years in and it's not anything that back in the early days, I did hear about it. Instead of doing comps, they would just let you do BPO. So they would just have the broker send the comps essentially. So anyways, I did put let me see if this link works. Yes, it's from a broker. Okay, I put this, yeah. Hit me, baby. Sure. So it's a CYA thing, and there is a place in Back Agent that has CMA. You know how it has all the like things. There's a place there for it already. So CYA, I would. Again, Britt has us locked into what his preferred requirements are, and that just happens to not be one of them. But that's the minimum of what. But CYA always. Because we can, we just. Yep. It's essentially like your file holder forever. So yeah, inspection report. I mean, you can put a ton of stuff back there.
And then we find. You can go back to that CMA before and then or whatever.
Awesome. Okay, let's keep shimmying. Oh, I thought that this was funny. Did you know that if you are negotiating a property on your behalf, that you have to give them a CMA? Like, if you're going to go buy a house, you better deliver a CMA to those people. If not, you're in violation of the code of ethics, and that's not good. And they're so specific that they want it in a 12-point type. So I got this directly from Trek's website, and this is exactly how it's saying. So Texas law says, or doing any real estate transaction on behalf of themselves, they have to provide a CMA.
What if, like, we're selling a house in Tuscaloosa?
When you're selling a house in Tuscaloosa, well, you have an agent doing it, right? Yeah, don't worry about it. But it says Texas law says real estate license holders obligated to provide a broker price opinion. There's that BPO word I had mentioned, or a competitive market analysis when negotiating a listing or offering to purchase up the property for the license holder's own account as a result of the contract made while acting as the real estate agent. In addition, the license holder must also provide whoever requests a BPO or CMA or estimated worth the following statement produced verbatim in a 12-point type. So thank you, Trek.
I mean, like, what, are they gonna audit you? Or somebody's smart is gonna report you?
No, it's not anything that dramatic. I think that if Trina and I were in the middle of a deal and she wasn't a real estate agent and I was trying, and I got her under contract and duped her for 30 grand, and then you call her up and you're like, are you kidding me? You let that real estate agent dupe you like that? Like, you got screwed. She's pissed. So then she's calling somebody, my broker probably first, and then they're like, hey, Brooklyn, where's the freaking CMA you sent her? And I'm like, well, I didn't. Why would I didn't want her to know how much it was worth.
Yeah.
I was trying to get a deal. Yeah. It's in 6 point. It's in 6 point, and Trina can't read it. My God. Okay, so I think this is the fun stuff that we're getting to. It's kind of like, well, what are the guidelines? Like, what do we want to kind of stick to when we are running comps on a property? And so I'll just kind of run through these, and then when we're actually doing it, you'll be able to see it a little bit more. But location's obviously going to be big. We're going to always tell you to stick within a mile. You're going to learn that that's not always an option, but you don't go outside of a mile if you can find what you need within 1 mile just because you want to, because that's not what an appraiser is going to do. But when we're talking about some land and some things like that, we do have the tendency to go out a little bit. I think subdivision's important. If you can keep that subject property that you're looking at within the same subdivision, that's what an appraiser is going to do. They're also going to look at school districts. I have personally gotten a low appraisal because of the school district, and that's why I'm mentioning it to you. This was actually out in the country, but it lied in a different school district, and we didn't realize that the appraiser was going to take that into consideration, and he did, and it didn't help us out at all. So some of my comps were coming out of a same range, but we're coming out of a different school district, and that matters to them. So as much of that as you can kind of keep in as far as the location goes is good. Kevin had mentioned, kind of drawing some boxes around, but I think the 1 mile marker is kind of key there. I will always start at a quarter mile and work my way to a mile, always, right? Because we want it tight, and then we'll go out. So we start really tight, but try not to go out more than a mile. Sure.
Yeah.
Early. But I try to never flip the neighborhood name. So try not to do that, because people make that error all the time. Because my neighborhood is one neighborhood, but it has 3 different tax records.
Is the neighborhood, are you those saying the same as subdivision?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I do use subdivision. But again, we're having this open round table conversation because there is no right or wrong way to do this, right?
It's like my neighborhood, it's like legal.
Subdivisions,
So
gotcha.
you put in like tons of states, normally a portion of that.
Side note to this, and I'll show you all this. If you put 2 asterisks on each side and just put Lake Highlands, it'll pull everything that has the word Lake Highlands. But you got to put 2 asterisks because Lord knows matrix. If you do 2, it is even more narrow focus. I'll show you in a minute, but yes, you're welcome. Next is age and style. So like I had said, Dallas is really good. Well, we're seeing it all over. Old neighborhood, crash down the house, put a new house. And that's the age of the house, of 1940 house and a brand new house. I mean, that's a big difference. And then the value of that can change because of that.
In the line.
20s. Oh, 40s.
Well, some of the 40s and 80s, because it was you can compare those. The 80s are similar because they're the same neighborhood and same product basically.
So I'm hoping when I throw up some adjustment numbers that they might have a general adjustment for age. I have always been told 10 years up, 10 years down. But again, you might narrow focus everything we're talking about, which is what you should do, but you're going to have to make adjustments. Where do you make the adjustments? I'd prefer you to make the adjustment in age, go out more like Kevin's talking about, than make an adjustment in location. I feel like that's kind of, that would be a good one to manipulate, if you will, or just take out altogether and then kind of see how it's fallen down. But
there's such a I used to use that neighborhood as an example. Just because,
sure. So one of the addresses I'm going to do is in a kind of neighborhood like that where the houses kind of go. So we'll right here.
You can't just pull like always with color. You can't pull because the system is water, so it goes way more. So you might have to out the fullest product that matches, and therefore you're going to get much higher costs than if you pull.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think in the world of CMAs there's something that says if you have a mid-century modern home, add this much money compared to a traditional home, right? It's not that easy. So you definitely will want to pull at least another mid-century modern comp, at least. If you have to go out or whatever, you might be able to use some other ones because they're far and few these days, but you definitely, the appraiser is going to get one. So you need to find one too. Very good question. They might have a style and then you might be able to put it in. It's not one I use quite like that. I personally don't, but yes. 100%. Yep. 100%.
You know, there's a mid-century modern and then you try to and you're like, you know, are your separable say, they know. I pay more for it, it's worth more. And I mean, I don't know, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just one of the instructors, she isn't modern and she knows. I mean, she's like, you're my house, the ones around me, you have to go to the ones that are the same architect, the same builder, things like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe they don't even know what that actually means. They think it's modern. Like they think it's modern, not mid-century modern. Actually, you just tanked that by putting paint all over it.
Yeah, that's where our job is when you go through.
Yeah, so I did. I put style here, and I agree. I will say on the style, as far as stories go, I think that square footage takes precedence over stories, in my opinion, meaning comping a two-story house only to two-story houses. I don't think that's necessary, is more so getting that square footage tied in. So I'm just noting that to you guys. If you're comping out a two-story house, don't overlook one-story homes that are comparable to all the other stuff we're talking about, because you think, oh, well, it's two-story, so I need a two-story. That's not, they don't really think of it like that. Yeah, it's essentially square footage is more important than stories. So the next one I put condition, and I put when doing CMA, it's important that you have seen the subject property. Misspell, told you I would. You are wanting to run comps on, otherwise provide a market analysis, cosmetic and mechanical updates. So whenever you do actually get to the part where you're comping, you've been there, you've got a list of upgrades, you kind of had that conversation. When you're reading through your comps and they put, this house had a new HVAC system, and my house also had a new HVAC system. Okay, that's good. This house, and and you're comparing it and look at the pictures and you're like, oh, this is good. Well, then now you're narrow focusing in like, okay, this could be a really good vision of what I think that this house may be worth or list for. So take into consideration cosmetic updates. Really, what at the end of the day we talk about it, you've got, in my opinion, the way I look at things is you've got investor specials, you've got mid-range homes, and you've got fully updated homes. I try not to overcomplicate that. There's three things. You walk into a house and you either know a bank's not paying for this, it's going to be bought by an investor. It's a really great house, but it's never been updated. Okay, well, that's not necessarily an investor special. A family can buy that and put their money into it over time. And then you get the homes that are move-in ready and turnkey. And they're just, to me, I devil those up into 3 different levels, and I can walk into a house and be like, okay, I know what this is. This is workable. This condition, oh, okay, it's got Formica laminate, but no wood rot, good roof. Like, oh, okay, a bank will pay for this house. Like, this isn't an investor special. Like, a family would take advantage of it. Anyways, that's why it's important. So you don't want to comp an investor special to a turnkey house, right? We do look at those though, so we can kind of get an idea of what we list investor special type houses for, which with Colleen's address, we'll get into. We've not toured the property, so we don't really know, but I know, but they haven't, you're not engaging with them, but that's okay. We'll talk about that. But it's good to know that would be a great example of why you need to know the condition of a house before you confidently give someone comps on a house. Days on market.
Yeah.
6 months ago is a so where are we in? April? Okay. For me, January really turned hard. I would even say it's fair enough to say 6 months ago, but realistically, right now, if you're doing CMAs, 90 days, baby, because our market shifted so hard that collecting data from further back, unless you are forced to, is not a true reflection of the current market, which is what we're trying to communicate with clients. Go, Kevin.
Tomorrow's it's January, and you're gonna lose in March or April, you know, be different than if you do comps even 6 months back where it was the end.
Okay.
You have to do a minimum. I narrow it too small, you know, so I would start and then narrow it down. I mean, and, you know, then I just
Sure. And I kind of do the opposite. So like I said, I tie in tight, and then go out. So I usually start with 90 and I'll go up to 270. But I think if we're talking about things that sold this time last year, we appreciated what 20 to 30% last year. So it's a little different. Yeah. And like, I think some of the questions will be like, how do I prioritize these? Like if I have to change something, you know, I'm going to say me personally, location, square footage, condition. Those are pretty much what I would stick to. Everything else you can be a little more willy-nilly about, but location and condition, you know, and size, I think are most important. So, and then I put size. So the size of the home is very important to be able to do a CMA. You'll want to try and have the square feet within 100 plus or minus of the property and adjust as needed. Again, start out tight and kind of come out. I'm going to always put 200 up and down just because I'm kind of lazy. And then it gives me some more, but the people that I've learned from would tell you to do 100 up and down. Of course, we know that you're not going to just stick to that. Like, that size is probably the most important. So of course you're going to do that. But the idea is that the appraiser will make adjustments for houses 500 square feet bigger or smaller. They will, but we would like to not have to use that. It's just better if you can get them closer. But if you can't, you can't. And the appraiser makes their adjustments the way they do. And I'm going to give you guys some kind of adjustment like guidelines that I found from another class I took. You can jot them down. But like I said, none of this is set in stone. You can't say, well, Brooklyn said to adjust $1,000 for this. Like, no, but in your head, and like Colleen and I do a lot of different things. And some of the things I do is I'll do like an AVR, so an after value repair. What would the house sell for? How much money would we have to put in it to get it there? And do some back out stuff like that to come up with those investor special prices, right? So, okay, what is an investor going to have to do to get it to where it would actually sell to this? And we know they're going to put profit into it. And then we can come up with a number where we feel like it would settle. So you can do all kinds of things to come up with numbers, but size is super important. All's that to say.
You didn't talk about pools.
Oh, we'll talk about it right here. Y'all are like, we're going to talk about it in the adjustment section.
Yeah.
So I'm totally down. Because if y'all eat, and then we'll go through the adjustments, and then because the rest we're actually going to do comps, and like, I wanted to like do some comparison. We're going to give out a few addresses. I want you to write down what what the range is. I actually even have a $5 gift card. I think I'm going to play a game, and I've got a property that I'm about to write under contract. And I'm going to see who can guess the list price, or who can guess the contract price based on the comps.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm always yeah. It's a fun game for me to play. I thought it would be fun. Like, I'm just curious, like, we're going to get an address. We're all going to plug away. We're going to use what we learned on our little thing. And We're just gonna kind of come up with either, we'll, you know, we can do a range, or we can say, hey, what would you list this for? And I just kind of flash all of our numbers and we'll write it on the back, we'll flash them, and I'm just curious to see what everybody comes up with.
Yeah. Curious. Here.
Being loud. Oh, here. Okay, so I'll show you. Where's escape? Escape. Escape. Uh-oh. Escape. Okay, so here, I have it right here. If you use a specific title company, it's good to use theirs because it has their fees in it. But so give me an example of when you would want this to take with you to a listing appointment. Okay, because I do. Okay, so our anticipated closing date would probably be 30 to 45, 60 days outside of that. The only reason that's important is because when you put in the taxes, it's going to filter out the prorate based on the date. So you could just do 60 days or whatever. We'll keep it as is. Sales price. Hey, so I'll tell you another thing I do. I will give them 2 or 3 of these different prices in their range. Best case scenario, worst case scenario. Real talk, right? Like I'm upfront, like on the higher end, this is how much you're going to make. On the lower end, this is how much you're going to make. So say this is at 350, I might turn around and give them one at 300 as well. Realtor commission can be changed. Transaction fee, I keep as 0. Option fee, we'll just put in a basic option fee. Is existing loan payoff, you can keep it as 0, but when you get the number, you just have to say, hey, you got to subtract that or ask them. Annual taxes, where do you go to get your tax? Do you use like Realist Tax? Okay, so look right here. Yeah, just, okay, that's Realist Tax, yeah, it's integrated. Okay, so you'll go there and put the taxes.
Okay.
Sometimes on the listings, the listing asks for unexempt taxes. So that's what the taxes are before their exemptions on there. So you need to be sure that you're actually getting, you don't want to put in MLS the exempted taxes, like $4,000 when really it's $7,000 because they have a homestead exemption on it. So
Okay.
it makes, or they have a disability exemption on it or something like that. So you want to put unexempted taxes. Does that make sense? Let's see. Watch this. Well, we all have, see right here, unexempt tax. So that's saying with, oh, cool. Well, that's fine. She was asking me for a seller's net sheet. So you can essentially plug in some numbers and tell your seller, hey, if we sell it at $350 with all the fees, this is how much money you'll make. Okay, HOA dues. So you'll want to find out if there's HOA dues. Here, title expand. They're going to, this gives you the option right now, you know, this is happening a lot where the buyer's picking up the title policy. Well, that's saving, look how much money it saves them. $21.50 just by shifting that.
Okay.
Then you can go to title company fees. They're inputting their fees. This isn't anything that we change.
Okay.
Okay, so this is their title policy fees. And then miscellaneous, I like miscellaneous too. Have they paid their HOA? Are they getting a home warranty? Are there any closing costs being paid out? Any repairs? Sometimes I'll come in here and put $1,000 and tell my people, hey, I put in this little thing. I've already put in $3,000 as a repair window for you. So before, if this is the number with an additional 3,000 that you may or may not spend, then print PDF, and then they just generate a report like this.
What do you call that? Because I
Seller's net sheet.
couldn't find that.
Colleen, I use Capital Titles. You can use, a lot of title companies have them. I was telling Michelle, like, yeah, I use Capitals. No, you can probably download their app. It's called the Cap app. Seller's net sheet, seller's estimated net sheet. And then Michelle, what I was saying is I'll run one at their floor and their ceiling. So they can see their best case and worst case scenario. For my opinion, you know what I'm saying? So that way they don't go, well, you said I was gonna get 350 and I was gonna make this. No, actually I said that you at the highest will get 350, at the lowest you might get 300. And I also showed you exactly what you're gonna get for it.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm gonna tell you, all they want to know is how much money am I making. And that's the form that's gonna tell them. They don't care about nothing else but this. Cap app. Oh yeah, they might have one. You can use any of them. Well, I can look at it, but I just use it because it's easy. It prints really nice. And I don't even use the app. I just do it online right here. See, I have it saved
Yeah.
because I'm lazy, but I just have it saved right here. The website's right here.
Oh, thank you.
Matrix also has a calculator. I don't use it, but they do have a seller and buyer. They have buyer closing costs and seller closing costs. You can even get a buyer's closing cost one of these too.
Yeah.
But the best way to do that is just get it from the lender. They got the real deal. I don't like to tell buyers that. I make their lender tell them. I ain't telling them that stuff. Anyway, so that's a little net sheet.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Okay. We're still on. We did that. What did y'all think about the appraisal packet conversation? Meh.
Love it. Now let me just get a lister.
Okay, I don't need Facebook. I don't need ladies of real estate. Okay. We talked about, on my last I didn't have anything else I was going to say except these resources. I always want to tell people, especially since we have some new agents, like we have a ton of resources that the majority of us never unlock because we're so like, you know, creatures of habit and we don't want to go outside the box. But like Meredith had mentioned, RPR is a program within Netris that you can use to like look at comps and just look at the market. It's just a different than Matrix. Okay, so you have Matrix as one, and you have RPR. They're just different, but you can utilize both of them. And I just told you can find RPR classes through your association. So either Metro Tech, CCAR, Greater Fort Worth. And I was telling Alicia that maybe it would be a good class for us to have. So we'll look into see if we can find somebody that would be able to teach it. I don't know the program well enough to be able to teach it, but that's a really good resource for us. Texas Realtors. So if you have questions, go to Texas, TAR is what y'all know it as, but it's now rebranded as Texas Realtors. Go to the website, read the stuff, type in the search bar CMA and read everything that they have. Like here's an example. So Texas Real Estate, I had put in search site. So we had talked about CMAs. So I was just curious what the Texas Realtor website offered. Create CMAs on the go with RPR mobile. Cool. Click on that. If you want to, you know, use RPR to create CMAs that amaze, you know, like, so this is, you pay for this. This is Texas Realtors has a lot of good stuff on the, also on that same note. Read your magazines. There's a lot of great information in this thing. I use Cloud. I use Cloud only, and I don't use RPR for that, so I don't know. It could be better. It's just something I would need to look into. Like I said, I'm a creature of habit. I used Cloud before RPR might have even been existing. But that on that note, you guys are so good at lead-ins. Cloud CMA, which is something that I can kind of show you when we're doing some comps, is a very much better way to present CMAs. The best reason is because it has pictures of the comps that you're using, so you can show your clients, hey, this is what that house looked like. This is why I'm using it. This is why it's comparable. That's why Quick CMA doesn't show pictures, it shows data. Cloud CMA shows pictures, which I think are important to justify, like you said, the price that or the price range, or what we're bringing to the table as far as the way we're thinking about it. So, what is that from? Because that's not what it's not. Cloud CMA does not.
No. No. I don't know what this is.
Wait, right here. So you can do, I was gonna see if I had just emailed. So I'll do comps. You don't have to change anything. You can do a quick comp. Look, okay. Actually, no, I don't want to show you all that one because that's one of the ones we're gonna do. I was trying to see if I could find a Cloud CMA maybe. Oh, no, that's a quick look. So that's going to be comps probably. Anyways, there is. Okay. That's the quick comps with pics is what I call them. So this is what it looks like when you get it all done, Meredith. This is the Cloud CMA. So I put my colors in. This is for my clients. So this is for Winter and Chris. Here's my information. I don't put a lot more in this. I do not like for my clients to nab me about all these graph bars and crap because that's not my thing. I do like the map. Okay. And I do like, I need to plug in. This is the summary. And then here they start with the pictures.
Yeah.
So I like this because I like to be able to say, hey, do you see how this property has? Yes. Do you see how this house has tile? And oh, well, I thought hand scraped wood. Well, okay, we can probably make some sort of an adjustment for that.
Yeah, this did not have that. This is,
So that is, so Cloud CM, Alicia, if you might make a note that if people are interested, we could just talk one day about, and just help everybody get their Cloud CMAs set up and if they want to use them. Not everybody likes this. A lot of agents, and Kevin may be one of them, I think, they say like, you know, less is more and this is too much. And that's why it's okay for us. We just do business different and that's okay. Wayne, can you plug me? So this is what I sent them. So if I'm running comps, this is everything my people are getting. Quick comps, just a quick CMA that I've done. I'm gonna give them any disclosures that they have. I always give them the tax records. This one happened to have a survey. Any addenda that the agent's putting back, I give it to them. Says I tell people I'm not running comps on something until you're interested enough in putting in an offer, and then I'm going to really dig into it for you. And so when I do, I send them everything that I can find and say, hey, you know, and then I send them that. And then I send them both. So that's when you're getting comps for me, you're getting as much information as I can give to you. So I'm done with that little presentation. So what my thinking was, I was going to throw out a few different addresses. I feel like maybe we should try and crank through about 2 or 3 of these just quickly with our computers open. I want you to kind of do it. I feel like I'm in high school again. Like I would like for you to independently work. But the idea is that I want you to take a subject property that somebody's just giving you, and I want you to figure out what to do. Like that's what you're going to get. So if I say, hey, I want you to run comps on, or I want you to run comps on this, or technically we run market analysis, right? Because we haven't seen the house, but run the numbers and like, let's talk about what we think it, you know, the value ranges. And I'd like to know when y'all are having trouble making the changes on prioritizing what you should and shouldn't change to kind of come up with a number. And then I'd like for us all to kind of do our best to get 3 comps without obviously seeing the property and then just comparing our findings, right? Ideally, if this was a certain thing, all of us would have the exact same addresses. The reality is it's not going to happen. Yes, ma'am. Oh, adjustments. Thank you. That's a big one. Okay. I'm cheating. But I'm borrowing. Okay. What was it? No, I know, but I was gonna jump over here. Okay. That's okay. I'm here. Okay. So I took a class from a lady who's really great. She does all these things. And so instead of trying to steal her slideshow completely, I just kind of borrowing from her. But she's probably going to have a lot more information than I covered. This is a very detailed thing. But what I wanted to do was we'll run through her comp thing, but I really want to see her adjustments, and she has some numbers to those so we can jot them down. So that when we're trying to make adjustments for properties, we kind of have an idea of what that looks like. So she says bracket, 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 1 bigger, 1 smaller, 1 old, 1 newer, 1 large, 1 smaller. So, you know, again, she's doing it differently than I do and then Kevin does, but the idea is to kind of, she's doing this from an appraiser standpoint. So y'all can get a little insight to how they think.
Brooklyn, would you send us this afterward?
Of course I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Hopefully they're jealous. Find the best comparables, use dollar adjustments, not price per square foot. I'm going to make this comment. I'm throwing this out there. I know that I have been taught to never use price per square foot to come up with a value on a house. You can use price per square foot as part of your data, as part of the gathering of, but there are agents that do speak in price per square foot terms. I've just been taught not to do that. You'll never hear me do that. I just don't do that. I do look at that. I do think it's important, but getting an average of your comps, price per square foot, multiplying it times your square foot, getting a price is not like the way, that's not a really good way to run comps. Like,
So if your buyer comes in and that's how they buying, do you just have a conversation with them and say, well, that's not how it's going to be appraised?
I mean, the bigger the house, the lower the square footage. There's things to that. Like, yeah, I was like, that's cool that you think like that, and that's fine, but like,
Well, they have a good understanding of like the more expensive the house, the less, but I mean, but if they're, I just try to help them understand that your appraiser won't be doing that.
it's part of the data, and they do price per square foot stuff, but they don't do it like I just said. They don't take the average, multiply it, and then equal it, and then that's what they're listing for. Well, that's the point. Nothing. It's not taking anything in other than what you're telling it to. Okay, so here's, again, we've kind of already seen this, but she has some other things. Let's say, stay within the same subdivision. She recommends within 1 mile, try to limit the range in size, no more than 25%. So she's given you hers. That sounds to me like that could fluctuate a little bit more than 100. I told you guys I typically do 200, but within 25% of the square footage, 2,000 square feet, don't flex more than 1,500 to 2,500 essentially. Limit your first search. So she's saying it again. What's most important? Location, square footage, and for her age of the home. If you have a waterfront, we're making adjustments for a lot of stuff. If you're on a busy road, if your house backs up to a highway, I've always been told adjust 10%. If it backs up to a major street, you adjust 5%. That means that you take the number that you think and take 10% of that off because it backs up to 75. Again, that's just kind of what I've been taught. I'm not saying it's
There's a lot of truth in that. I called an agent the other day, asked him why his house has been on the market for so long. And he said, location, because it backs up to a busy street. But anyway, that was one of the reasons that people they get over there and they're like, that's the reason they're doing it.
No.
No, of course not. Well, I will say this. You are right. And I think we're kind of coming from a place of not being super specific to this market.
Yeah.
I think it will change. And whenever it does, like, you'll need to know it like this, but you're right. I mean, like I told people, you can list a house for $1 and just see where it lands. So you don't have to do that. We'll just put $1 on it and just kind of see who's coming to the party, kind of deal.
From self-correcting market, I'm doing with this point saying that the market.
Let's shift.
Biggest thing with our is the whole, and it's this market, it's not how it was this house, obviously, but I know error and it's really hard to get. If we err in our price.
The market will compensate. Nobody's going to let you go low.
Yes.
And people, I think it's crappy that people are still using that strategy. I just had a house that we bid on multiple offers, 56 offers on one house.
Well, you don't want that either.
And they listed super low, 300. I run comps. I'm like, this house is definitely at least worth 320.
Yeah.
Based on comps alone. They go and adjust the price to 330.
We're asking them. They're right.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Selecting carrier rule. Let's see. Recent comparable is generally the best. Underwriters want explanation if more dated. The less adjustments, the better. There are very few perfect comparables. That's the lesson to today, right? Okay, so here's kind of what I was steal from her is just kind of talking about adjustment. So sometimes you might have a house and you select the properties that you think are like it, but you know that there's some differences, whether it has a pool, whether it has additional acreage, it's an oversized lot. Trying to think of some things, you know, out in the country, we deal with like, you know, having sewage, having a septic tank, and another property might not, and just some things like that. But I haven't come through this, so don't hold me to everything she says, and I might not be able to explain everything she says, but there is some stuff in here I think that we could take away. So I will say, I don't know if she mentions a swimming pool. The conversation I've always had about swimming pools is, and I think what she's going to tell you is that you're going to get a percentage of how much you paid to have it put in. But I've always been told that pools generally are going to run a basic in-ground swimming pool, probably add 10 grand to a fancy backyard oasis. I mean, you might be adding 40, 50 grand. Ideally, you're able to find a comp that also has a fancy backyard oasis so that you have some support there. But I typically adjust for a pool by about 15 to 20,000 bucks, give or take.
Yeah.
Depending on the condition. Vinyl to me is not comparable to plaster. The market might think it is, though. It's still a swimming pool. So there's not really
Well, what I was gonna ask about is, so since this is just my 3rd year, but Eric and I have been buying for a long time, investing, and what we've seen change is what people are looking for. So during COVID, everyone wanted a pool, so those houses were off the market fast. It seemed like, from my observations. And then, but that wasn't true back in the day. Because back in the day, there was no value in a pool to a house. And so I was just gonna say that make sure you're reading the updated information, because you need to know what people are actually looking for.
Sure.
And what they're desiring, because a pool would have never been on the list of, hey, that's actually good right now. But anyway, so just keep your ears open for what people want, because it seems to be changing as our needs as families change.
Yeah, and I will make this comment. If your clients want to buy a house with the intention of putting a pool in, be sure it's their forever home, because they are not going to see a return on that investment. It's costing $100,000 to put in a pool right now. Yes, I'm sure you can get them for cheaper, but let's just say you're paying, okay, maybe I'm being a little over dramatic, $60,000 to put in a pool, and they turn around 2 years later and sell it. They are not getting their $60,000 for that pool. They'll be lucky to get 20. Well, and she might have a percentage of what you can deduct, but yeah, you're just not going to see that return. So when I have people who want a pool and they want to put it in, I just tell them, like, to me, you need to be on at least a 10-year plan to see your return on that investment, or to break even, quite honestly. We make adjustments for sales. She's saying sales concessions. We're not even seeing that in this market, so we're going to skip right over it. But view. Okay, so what would be an example of a view that would differ from something else? Skyline views, lakefront views, apartment wall views, cemetery views. I mean, there are just a busy intersection. I mean, a busy highway. So we need to take that into consideration. The idea is, if you're confident house, that you get one just like it. So if you find a house that's also on a highway, let's take a look at what it sold for. You got a house that also staring at that cemetery. Do we have any more that sold recently? What did it go for? Design, rarely adjusted to similar comparables are chosen. Quality, again, this isn't my list, but I'm thinking, like, what's the difference in a construction? We have barn dominiums now. We have this onset of metal buildings. Well, if you're going to comp a metal building to a wood structure, there may be a difference in value. You would ideally find a comparable metal structure, and also you can use wood structures, but find something very similar to it. Bedrooms, I didn't mention bedrooms very much, because I've always been taught that realistically living square footage is really what we're kind of going off of, but they will make adjustments, a dollar amount adjustment for a bedroom, for a bathroom, for a half bathroom. I'm hoping that we'll get some of those loose end numbers out of this. I know she has some. But some say, oh, you got a half bath. Okay, you can add 2,500 or subtract 2,500. You got an extra car garage. Okay, well, what is that worth? If you can't find you got a 3-car garage house, you cannot find one anywhere around it. Okay, well, what should we add on to make that value meet at a 3-car garage? So again, wouldn't we all love to have this like specific laid out number, but we don't, so we just kind of take what people are giving us and run with it. Oh, look, half bath. So she's saying 1,500 to 10 grand per half bath. That's a lot. But look, here's the magic number: 33 to 50% of costs to construct. So if you're adding if you got a half bath and it costs $5,500 to make the half bath, you can value it at what is that? 225. 2225. Okay. 2225. Okay, I couldn't get that out. Here's a full bath, and I want you to write these down. Alicia might too, but when you're going and you're doing your comps, we're not probably going to get into it all that hard using these adjustments today when we're just practicing. But when you're actually wanting to list a house, or you have a house that you're struggling to find comps with, and you have some of these, this is when these would come into play, when you just are trying to gather as much information as possible. Thanks, Colleen. I was trying to skate by that. It is gross living area. It's essentially the square footage. And she's telling you can adjust price per square foot and don't adjust for differences less than 100 square feet. I don't use this adjustment, so I do a mental adjustment of square footage myself. Right now, we've only gotten the baths. We've got a half bath, 15 to 10, a full bath, 4 to 22. I had said pools. I mean, my range, where is Kevin in here? My range, or what's your thoughts on pools?
I actually like numbers. My typical standard is 20.
Okay.
And I just down and you know.
Yeah,
That is. Yeah.
could be more.
Yeah. More than,
No.
It's a- Well, it's not for me, I shouldn't even say no.
They would say if there's a market for that. So if you have if you know that there's a niche, like mid-century modern is a good niche to talk about, but like if there's a niche of people that just are seeking saltwater pools, yeah, they might pay more for that.
Yeah, okay.
You might want to, jump on that Facebook group, saltwater pool lovers for life. Other than that, I don't know how else you would know. I bought a house that had a saltwater pool. It ain't no salt water in there. It's a chlorine pool. I don't know. Maybe it was, no, I think it was at one point they had it a saltwater filtration system or whatever they have to do, but like, that's not
Ours is not water, but it's actually good.
And y'all are talking science now, man. I took geology in high school, so I didn't have to take stuff like chemistry. Duh. Okay. HVAC based on installation of whole system. So you've got a house, everything looks the same, but one of them has a 20-year-old unit, and one of them has a new unit. Well, you could safely say for a traditional, sometimes people have multiple units, sometimes they have huge units, but you're looking at about $8,000 to $10,000 for a traditional system. And I think you could try to validate that and say, hey, we listed 10 grand higher because my client just spent 10 grand on a new system. I don't know that you're going to get dollar for dollar back on any of those things, but you could justify it to them somehow. Garage and carport adjust for about $2,500 to $5,000 per bay. A carport is about $750 to $1,500 per bay. Patio porch or deck may adjust for $1,000 to $5,000. Ideally, you'll find a comparable one that has a patio. But if you're just stuck and you are reaching for these adjustments, then this is kind of just a guide. You don't have to stick to this. Just know that it's here, that a professional that wasn't me put it together. An appraiser lady that is the goddess of all of things appraisals, she put this together. A wood stove, fireplace stove, there's the adjustments for that. No, you're fine. I'll even give this to you. Can you see them? Yeah, so instead of me having to send this whole thing because it's her presentation. So some of this stuff doesn't make sense because obviously she's talking about this. Alicia's going to top these things up on a page for me because I was going to try and do that for y'all, but I just ran out of time. So you can have this, and like I said, just tuck it away. Whenever you have to do comps, pull it out and use it. Okay. Amenities. Pool and area where pools in common adds about 10 to 20% of cost. So if you paid $60,000 for a pool, that's telling me that you can get $6,000 to $12,000 value for that pool. That's what she's saying. Again, pretty much along with what Trina and I are saying.
Yeah.
A pool may not contribute any value to the home. I think, like, to your point, however long ago, people didn't want them. They were probably like, God, I love this house, but I don't want a pool. Well, there's no value there. COVID has changed that 100%. Sprinkler systems. So she's saying, I think maybe she meant to put a number there, but you can adjust probably $1,000 to $2,500 for a sprinkler system. Wood fences add $1,500 to $2,500. I just had a wood fence put in, 160 square linear feet, and I think we paid $5,000 for it. So you're seeing 50% discount. And that's why when people are like, oh, well, should I do this to my house to get more money? You need to be smart about it. Should I put up a new fence? Well, you probably should put up a new fence if you need one, but you don't need to put up a new fence for aesthetic purposes. You're not going to get your return back. If your fence is falling over and you want to sell your house, you might want to put a fence up. And then she has chain link fences. Oh God, yes, you should come shopping in my hoods. In my hoods, you'll see some chain link fences. Colleen's creepy. I love chain link fences. That's when I'm like, put in the 8-footer on her side. No, we don't want any Mr. What was his name? Mr. Wilson creeping over.
See, he was looking over a wooden fence, but a chain link, he could have had an open conversation.
So I'm going to give you all this information. Thank you. Don't quiz me on it because I don't necessarily use it. I don't know about it, but I kind of like it.
So would you say it's fair to say 33 to 50% on most upgrades?
Yeah. Yeah. So here is how she is telling us to manipulate square footage.
Oh.
Sweet.
Yes. Oh, you're right. When she probably made this. Yeah. That's a good point.
Well, or that you're. Yeah.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, and you may have a seller that's like, hey man, I just spent $25,000 on this pergola and I just did it and didn't get to use it. Now we're a military family, we're being called off. Like, do what you can to get me that money. And I say, give me the paperwork. And I say, hey, Trina, like, I know your clients like the house. We priced it fair, but the reason it's priced a little bit higher is because, quite honestly, they want their money back for this. Like, if they're not really willing to pay for that, then, you know, I mean, I don't think that's a great strategy, but sellers could do that, especially in the market right now where they're paying such high prices for stuff. So that's definitely a good point. Because okay, so she's saying to adjust the gross living area, which is essentially your square footage, add the price per square feet of comparables. So you'll have 3. Okay, so we're going to have 3 comparables. They're all going to have different square footages. God, did I say I hated math as much as I hated science? Okay. I only like 3%. That's all the only thing I know how to do. Okay. price per square feet of all three of those. You're gonna, basically, you get the average of those. So you're gonna divide the number of comparables used. And then you're gonna use a third to a half of the average price per square foot for differences in a different size. Does somebody have a calculator? I might have. Well, I managed to close out of like, oh, okay, no, I didn't. Okay, didn't I have a comp? Oh, look. So let's try an example of what she's saying, because I don't know. So she said on that little thing, let's see, where am I? I have way too many windows open. Can y'all tell that I don't like that?
Basically, the average price.
Is it just like on its own? Oh, it's on its own. Okay, we're over here. So add the price per square feet of comparables. Okay, so the comparables, you go down here on your market analysis, you have square footage, and you see where it says average square foot. So we're going to take that number, which is 1659.
To go over to price.
Oh, sold price per square foot. No, not sold price.
No, she's add the price per square foot of your comparable.
Okay.
The average price per square foot.
Okay, so who's got the calculator? Somebody do it for me. So add the price per square foot of comparables right here. Okay. Divide the number. So they did that for us. Then use a third to a half of the average price per square foot to adjust the difference in size. So what's half of 157? So she's saying to adjust $78 for every square foot you're off, essentially, to kind of come up with an additional number. Does that make sense? Yeah, so yeah, we did it sold price per square foot. So that's what it's, I mean, and then you can adjust that, and that's how she's saying to adjust it by a third or a half. I don't use this method. I'm just sharing it with you because I wanted y'all to see the adjustments, and it's in here. So I don't want to overcomplicate it. But write it down. Write it down. She's saying applying adjustments. If the comparable is superior, subtract. If it's inferior, add. We kind of naturally do that. So yeah, that's pretty much it on my class. So what I wanted to do is, Colleen has a listing coming up that I've kind of been poking around at. So I thought I might throw out a few addresses for y'all, and we'll just kind of do some market analysis. And I want to be sure that you guys physically know how to do this in MLS. If you need somebody to say, Brooklyn, I don't know how to put the subdivision, it's tricky. You got to put 2 asterisks, 2 before, 2 after. I want to be able to walk around and help you guys familiarize yourself with entering that into Matrix. So I'm going to do one. We'll do one together, and then Colleen, why don't we do yours together? And then I have a piece of land and I have a house that I'm putting offers on today that I figure I'll throw those addresses at y'all, and you guys can help me come up with what you think the house is worth. Or what? Are you leaving, Trina? I needed you, Trina. No, we're glad that you were here. Okay, so this is how I start. I've kind of already had gone through what I send when I send comps to my clients. You guys already saw that. We're going to send a quick CMA. We're going to send a cloud CMA, and any other documents that you have, that's what we're going to send with them. So when you start a comp, you're going to come into Matrix. Colleen, what kind of property? Tell me about your property a little bit. What is, or actually, Colleen, all I need is an address. So whenever you are doing market analysis and all you have is an address, this is how I suggest you start this process. Okay. Colleen, what's the address? You guys go to Realist Tax in Matrix. You guys can go to the appraisal district. But all we have is an address, and it's not an MLS. We don't know anything about it. How do we start finding out information? Okay.
15506.
I don't know where my Zoom went. See, I'm so discombobulated. Uh-oh, are they even on anymore? Can you? They want them to go to Matrix first. Actually, you can just go to Matrix. And then over here, you can go to tax and it says real estate tax or property tax. Real estate tax is Netrus's tax pool. Property tax is probably going to take you directly to the appraisal district. I have found that real estate tax information is pretty accurate. So this is my suggestion on where to start when all you have is an address. Y'all all on this page right here? Okay. So it says address. So Pauline, what's the address?
15506.
Okay.
Lee Valley, Leavalley.
Okay, y'all put that in. Valley. One word.
Get into my facts. LEA.
Yeah, I bet it is, Alicia. I think it's in North Dallas. Mhm. Well, y'all are gonna be great at this thing, girls.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, so then I hit enter. Sometimes just hit enter, like search. Once you have the address in there, hit search. Sometimes.
Wow.
Information to start my calls, like what's the square footage? What is the subdivision? Because we don't know. We don't know anything about this property. So once you scroll down here, you'll see that it's going to show you, okay, this house has 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's 2,074 square feet. Got the lot size. You can always divide that by 43690 and find out what the acreage is. I don't do math well, so I don't know. And we know that it's built in 1971. So based off of what we're trying to use in our condensed way of finding comps, you're going to find a lot of that information right here on this sheet. Yes, you do find the names of people. And another one is here, you'll see the subdivision. And because I use the subdivision to search properties, and it also has the school district, which we talked about being kind of important or could be important for value. So we got an address. It's not an MLS. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to find information. Go to real estate tax and you will find a ton of information on it. So then we're going to, okay. No.
So
But it's not in there. It's not in there.
okay.
It's too old. They've owned this property 60 years.
Oh,
It's not in MLS. Mhm. You can, but in this case, it's not in there.
Because you pay Richmond school
Mhm.
and Dallas property taxes.
Yeah.
Is that something that?
So they're in the Richardson ISD big plus, but they're actually.
The market probably will like the fact that it's in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
That's the spin.
They've asked me to highlight that.
Mhm. Okay, so what we'll do is we jump back over here to Matrix and go to residential because it is a single family home. I don't know, does it tell us if it's a single family home on here?
Yeah.
Oh, right here. So it's going to say building type, single family home. So that's how we know because we don't have any information. So we're going off of this. So we go search residential quick. I go fast for everything. What was the question? Keep your real estate tab open and then go back to Matrix. And then do search residential I don't care if you pick detailed or quick. What I need is in quick and I just use quick and that's what I do. So you can do it any way you want. So we have an address. We have somebody that wants us to kind of come to their house and tell them what we think we could sell it for, but we've never been to the house. So we're going to give them a market analysis when we come with us. And inside that should be hidden the comps. So you click all your little buttons over here. You want to know what's active. You want to know what's coming soon. All the things. I don't much use pulled or withdrawn, but if you wanted to know if some houses maybe have been pulled off the market, you could. Then you start with location.
Yeah.
Quick. I'll wait for you.
Right.
No, I go fast enough. Alicia's not here to remind me
Okay.
Okay. So then we're gonna come over here. People are gonna do this differently. Kevin probably does a little thingy. I put the address in. What's the address? 15506 Lee Valley. It has to drop down and you have to click it for it to be accepted. It will not work if you type out the address perfectly and not accept this right here. And so now it's got a map area selected for me. And if you notice on this drop down, it's already pre-filling a 1/4 mile. We want to always start, for me, just a 1/4 mile, and we can work our way out if we need. So I love the 1/4 mile. What are we trying to see for them? We're doing a market analysis. So we have 6 matches. That's not an overwhelming a ton of matches just by putting in only the location and information. That's still not good. Yes. Yeah. I would check all the boxes because we're doing a market analysis. So we want to know what's going on in the market. So when I come over to tell you how I'm going to sell your house, I have this to back it up. I think I will probably pull out. I'm really, I am going to keep it at 90 days because the market's just been so absurd. But I think we should go out to 0.5 and now we've got 24 matches. Did y'all make that adjustment and do you have 24 matches? And then I go back to real list tax because I forgot, because I don't remember anything, how big this house is. 2074. So we'll, based on what we've been talking about, what do you think we need to put in there? If the square footage of the house is 2,074 square feet, what is our square footage range?
Brooklyn, mine keeps coming back 0 matches. I think I'm doing something wrong.
Okay, restart.
Okay.
And I mean, do you have a map area selected? Did it accept your address? I would just start over because once this program gets confused, sometimes it stays confused. Okay. So I'm going to put in 1,800 to 2,200. I usually go 200 up and down. You know, whenever I narrow focus it in and we see more, I make the adjustment. How's everybody on Zoom doing? Because I can't see you guys. So if you have any questions, you just gotta let me know. Right now, all we've done is we've put in the location. We've put in a square footage stipulation.
What was the square footage?
The square footage is going to be on your real estate tax. Specifically for this property, it's 2,074 square feet. So I tell you 100 one way and the other. I personally go ahead and do 200 one way or another. So I loosely put in 1,800 to 2,200. Yes. Guys, y'all are missing out on this bread and everything. Like our lunch was like legit. Okay, that Parmesan bread be hitting. Okay, we got green beans, carrots, and I'm feeling good about this lunch too. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, all right. Okay, so Hey, does everybody that's doing this, do y'all have these little few things inputted and do you see 5 matches? Let's,
No, I still see, mine is still showing up 0.
you're doing
She has something
something
correct.
wrong.
Or does she have her address?
I asked about the address. Are you putting, Lisa, can you see my screen?
Let me see. Yeah, I have you like minimize on the
Yeah.
side.
How are you gonna know what we came up with?
Oh, you're gonna tell me.
This goes 10 to 12.
I know it's 12.
Oh,
It's 12:15. I know that's.
Oh,
what
she
she-
was
Yeah.
literally just started.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hurry up. If y'all need to leave, leave. If you want to stay, stay. How about that?
Yeah.
Same with y'all.
I wanted to stay.
Okay, so let's hit on results.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh. What did you say?
Yeah, I have everything that you have clicked, but for some reason it's not showing me. I'm gonna try it again.
Well, why don't you just keep watching what I do, and then of course I'll go back over it with you. So for this particular market analysis, I have yet to put in a subdivision name. I just kind of have a half a mile within the last 90 days. And what I'm noticing, or what you guys should be noticing, is there's nothing active, there's nothing under contract, there's nothing pending, and that's really a good thing for Colleen's up and coming listing. Then we kind of slide over here, and then you can start seeing some of the details. Colleen's house, based on what this is saying, it was built in 1971. So the age of the house here is all comparable. So that's good. It's right here. Well, I just got it off Realist Tax. Oh God, that scared me. Zero inventory to me, it says to my client, it's good. And then you look at the subdivision name. So I would prefer to keep anything in Prestonwood at the forefront, but what we see is a $200,000 gap between your lowest property and your highest property. Then you have one sitting right smack in the middle. And so how do we as listing agents justify a $200,000 difference in prices? You got to look at each one of them. So we start to go in here. We've never seen the house that Colleen is listing. All we have is an address, so we can't really do comps. But when you're at a listing, when you bring to the listing appointment this market analysis, then this is what you do with your clients. Okay, hey, look at this house. This house has been completely updated, got granite, it's move-in ready, looks really nice on the outside. So to get a house like this in this neighborhood, that's 2,100 square feet, so it's about the same square footage, maybe 100 less. They paid $557,000 for that house. They had it listed at 569. They price dropped to 559 and closed at 557, and they did sit on the market for a bit. And it has a swimming pool too. So they probably made some adjustments there. So the house that we're obviously sitting in doesn't look like this. I can tell you the one that Colleen is sitting in, it does not look like this. It has not been updated. I have not seen it, but she has told me about it. So this would be a comp. This would not be a true comp to the condition of her home, because her home hasn't been touched since 1971, essentially. So, but it's good. Now we know if somebody buys her house and it's 155.
Brooklyn, I got it to work.
Oh, good. Uh-huh. No, you're fine. Do you want my help, or you want to just take your time?
And you could, well, you put 1,800 and 2,200. No comments or? Well, no comments. I mean,
moving out, oh, no. Okay. So I was trying to see what my criteria was. So I'll go half a mile of the subject property. I'm still within 90 days. The next thing I'm going to probably maneuver is going to be this days on market. I'll pull it out a little bit, but you can walk into them and say, hey, this is a screenshot of the last 90 days. If you want to say, hey, this is what it's looked like over the last 6 months, it gave me 4 more houses to work with, but that's fine. So you can do either one. But yeah, essentially we have to go through here. What I like to see is all the days on market. So when you're presenting this to a client and you're seeing this, their expectation of their house to be off the market in 3 days is extremely high based on this. Yeah. Again, I like to stick within the Prestonwood subdivision if possible. And yeah, you just kind of have to comb through these. I mean, there's one at 390. I don't like those old ones. I want to go back to the new ones. I want to go back to just a 90-day. Uh-huh. Well, and that's what Kevin was saying, and why it's super special. It's super important to kind of know the difference of that. And that's why you're not a specialist in all areas. Everybody says, oh, I'm a specialist in all the areas, but really you're not. You're a specialist then in this neighborhood.
On the west side of Progress on the coast, which is, a little further north next to us.
Brooklyn, I need to jump off.
Okay, peace out.
Thank you so much. I took a lot of notes. That was really good training today.
Sorry that we were supposed to do 3 addresses.
No worries. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Look, our introductions took 30 minutes. Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Remember the contract for like a month?
Was it me that taught it? Oh, I was like, if I teach it, it usually takes a long time. Okay, so the next one on this list is Covewood. It also looks like it has been completely updated. I mean, this is Gorge, right? And they listed at 575 and they close at 632. Are you kidding me? $50,000 or more. 25. Yeah, $55,000. Crazy. Okay. Still doesn't really help us because we're in an old school house, right? We don't know that because y'all aren't there, but that's what it looks like. So then we're just kind of collecting, we're learning, right? So far what I know is that if I have a turnkey home in that house, I'm getting probably 590 to 650, somewhere in there.
Which is good to know if they want to.
Yeah, but it could be helpful to figure out their list price because what we do is we know the ARV now, which is the after repair value, right? So somebody came in, they bought a house, they did all the repairs and sold it, and they're able to get that number. So yeah, so essentially is like, yeah, if you want to get this much, put in this much, see if you can turn a profit. But really, they typically don't. They'll just sell out to an investor. Yeah. But you want to try and get as much money for them as possible. What's that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, so why do you think, okay, this house listed in March, oh no, it went under contract in February, hot market. It's 1,900 square feet. It could be in a different part of Prestonwood, but why would they have a house? If you go and click on the pictures, no, we're looking at a different one, but what we have to figure out is, okay, we've got decent flooring, we've got multiples, got a nice fireplace, Beautiful windows. The windows look new. Trust me, I just put new windows in my house. It's not cheap. They've got, I will tell you that's laminate with dated background, all white appliances. When you're comparing them to a fully renovated thing, there's a difference. But what we're really trying to figure out is, why did they list this at 400 when we're pulling other numbers that are showing higher in the fives? Could be because of lot size. Also, it's nice to just click right here and check it where it sits. Let's see where it sits. Oh, it backs up. It's close to Arapahoe. Okay, maybe that's why we're losing a tad bit of money, especially if it's one of these. You will say, oh, that's why. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, it's still not far from a busy road. That's not far. This is just one of our comp houses. Yeah, and I don't know this area at all.
That's kind of like I know why.
So this one has 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Yeah, and so we know our square footage and location is pretty good. These up here we can also look at. There's one for 535 and one for 465. So I'd be curious if this one, okay, this one at 535 has been done. It's been turnkeyed, it's been flipped already. It's a very nice, it's a nice lot. And then this one is coming in the 4s and she don't look as pretty, right? So when we're sitting in a house, actually inside does look pretty good. Let's see if they did the kitchen. Let's see if they've done the kitchen. So they haven't done, that's original cabinets in laminate. They did do some backsplash and they've got stainless. So they've done kind of mid-grade. This is sitting at what I would call like a higher end mid-grade house. It's not an investor house, but it's also not like a Joanna Gaines house. So for that, they got 465. So when we go in and talk to Colleen's clients, we'll say, hey, you've got a wide range here of closed sales prices, but we went through all the pictures and we think we know why. And this is what your house is like. And so this is why we think it's priced this way. So if you click on all of these right here in this box and hit quick CMA, it'll break down a screenshot of a quick view of all of the things. You can see the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, the year build. If there's a pool, why would we want to know that? There might be an adjustment there like we talked about today. The lot sizes, these are all pretty comparable, but what if you had a lot that was 0.5 or 0.75? There's going to be some more value to that land and there's more land. You can see your price per square foot. And then you can see, your sold, is this a sold price per square foot? Yeah, sold price per square foot. And then if you keep cruising over here, this is what's been remarkable. Sales over list price. This is right here is saying that people are paying 6.3% over list price. Okay, so if it's priced right and it's the right house, they're paying, these people paid 7% over, these people 5.7, these people paid almost 10%. That is a lot. And that we're seeing this a lot right now. What is that's good to know is that if you price it right, it might sell over list price, even if it is typically investors. Well, investor specials will go multiple offers, so they might bid war on it too. Just, and that's all you can do, and more times than not. And I feel like, Shelly, are you still on here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
So we're having a conversation Meredith just brought up about what happens when you show data to a client and they want to list above and what that looks like. And I was thinking about your Grand Prairie house. So how did that whole situation go for you?
Well, we're waiting on the appraisal, so
Did you
that'll
feel
really
like it was
determine.
overpriced because of the seller?
I do feel like the seller was pushing to list the house higher than I originally wanted to. Of course, you know, they're the boss and that's up to them, but I just wanted to be realistic with them about their expectations as far as, you know, when the appraisal comes in and, you know, you're not going to get multiple offers if you list higher than, you know, market value is calling for.
And y'all did end up getting multiple offers, but not like you were wanting, right?
Not crazy over. I do feel like if we would have listed lower, we would have had, you know, we would have been able to push the price up to what it is now, maybe, you know, we would have had
And
multiple offers.
I know because we've talked about this house and you're under contract on it for a pretty good amount, but you don't have the appraisal back on it yet.
Right.
Dang it. That'd have been good. And it could, and it maybe. So actually Shelley did end up going under contract on this house at a pretty good price, but let's see how that appraisal trickles out. And that's where it kind of gets a little cranky. And I know because I've been talking to her, I know that her sellers are not going to be happy when that appraisal does come in low, which is why it's our job, always give a ceiling and always give a floor. So then they're not pissed and say, well, you didn't tell me that. I'll go in, I'll be like, dude, your house could sell for, I mean, right here, these people, I'm like, hey, this data is telling me your house could go for as little as $435 in this condition, and your house is in even worse condition. So I'm thinking probably you're getting $4. Yeah. And I think that Colleen will probably end up listing this house at $425. I originally said $450. And I still think that I might stick by that because so that pulled $435.5. See, but I think hers is more dated than this. Okay, it's a little bit bigger by just what, maybe 75 square feet. It does have another bedroom, so they'll adjust for that. But you know, this is kind of a move-in ready house where I don't think the other one is. So if a move-in ready house is getting $435, then maybe it is worth closer to $425 or $400 even. Another thing I like to do about this is to think about, okay, if I was going to buy a house that looks like it was built in 1971 and I want it to look like this, how much is that going to cost? Okay, so you can kind of there's rough estimates in how much you're 20,000 into a kitchen, 15 into a master, you're about 10 into every bathroom, paint, carpet, another 10. So you can kind of add these things up and backtrack. That's not what appraisers are going to do, but that's what we can do to figure out, okay, well, how do I know how I'm going to get them the most money? So if Colleen has a house at $450, and someone puts in $100,000 of work, which probably actually be closer to about 80. Do those numbers align? Do those numbers align with these that are selling at 5 and 6? You don't want to let your clients leave any money on the table either. So we don't use that as like a surefire way to figure out a value, but it's nice to do some of that backing out of, okay, well, if this house needs to be completely flipped to get, you know, 632 or 557 or say 580 as an average of those two, you know, okay, and they 580 and then they got to put 100 into it. Now we're backing it out. Now we're at 480. Okay, well,
My listing, he just, is either gonna go an investor special or he's gonna put a new roof on and some new floors in the bedroom and a couple other things. He put in like $30,000 and it's really worth what he's getting. Hopefully. We're under contract for it's definitely worth what he put in.
it's really hard to tell people, hey, if you put in $80,000, I'll try and make you an extra 40 or 50. It's a gamble for us to do that.
And then if you're wrong,
That sucks. Yeah. Anyways, and also, so these higher end, they have 3, you know, there's some adjustments that could be made, and we didn't have to do a lot of adjustments on this one, but I just kind of wanted to go through the basics of like how to do a comp, a CDA. You'll do a bunch of them, and the more you do, the better out of them you get, you know? I'll stop because I was like, why is everybody leaving? I thought this party's still going, but I forgot that it was over. So you go here, if you go to quick CMA, you can go here, print, and then actually end up just saving it. What does it do that? Quick CMA is right here. And I just save it. And then go in here. No, and then hit Cloud CMA, and it already has the comps, and it puts together the fancy report for you. You don't really have to do much but enter basic information like your client's name and the property, and then it'll generate a report.
Okay, so that's.
Cloud CMA and quick CMA.
Hold on. Mark.
Yeah, what's crazy, here's actually the unfair part of this. When we were actually trying to do a market analysis, there is nothing to announce because there's nothing, we can't see what people are listing at over there. We can't see what people are pending at over there because there are none. So really, we just seeing a bunch of comps, really. I mean, essentially comps, but like you wouldn't go to a house and use Heathermore as a comp to this house. You can use it as data, but it's like when they're asking, and honestly, none of these are really that comparable because they were all pretty much redone. I think there were a few in there that you could say, hey, you still got laminate in the kitchen and it's kind of old school and use it. But it's hard really to comp out those houses that haven't been done if you don't have, sometimes you'll find houses that are also as equally crappy. And you're like, oh, okay, this is as equally crappy. It makes sense. But in this one, we didn't really find that. Well, I've never seen this house. No. Well, look, what is this? I mean, right now I can tell you, is this a green? Are these electric? Are these big, tall? The big, tall electric ones? Sometimes people hate that.
Yeah.
They think it causes cancer. But do people use this as like, okay, so here's the plus then. If you're backing up to a green space that people can use, then, okay, you're not looking at your neighbors. It might be more sought after because you can just hop your back fence and then you're at the trails. You can take your kids there. But people don't love, sometimes you'll get clients will be like, I am not moving to that house with this electric poles, like it's going to give me cancer. I've heard it. But this one could have actually got more value because of the green space.
Hey, Brooklyn.
Yeah, peace out. Are you peacing?
No. If you take out the square footage in your search and you go to the results, there's actually a house that's sold on that street for $420. It closed on April the 1st.
How big?
It's 1756, built in 1971. I think it would be a good comp for Colleen's listing.
Use that one number thing that I showed you earlier, where you take the average and then like, so what would,
yes.
What's the price per square foot on it, and what's a half, and then divide that by a half, and then multiply that times the difference and tell me what you get.
Okay, so
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so 239 is actually close for 239, but I don't have three of them. I would have to add three comps together.
That one and see
divide that by what, 50%? A third or a half?
Do 50%.
Okay.
This is the one she's talking about. That only got 420. That looks like a damn nice house on the outside.
But look at the inside. It's not updated, so I think it would be close to Colleen's comp. I mean, it's not. Yeah.
1971, but it's
not updated.
Yeah.
So I think Colleen going with 420 would be a good.
Well, see, but listen though, you're saying that, right? And they got 420 for this, but this house is smaller. So that's why I'm thinking 450, if you want my opinion, but did you do the little, so if you,
Yeah, so it would be we would make an adjustment of 119 per square foot. So if we multiply that, let's see, 2074 minus
1756,
1756, so that's 318 more square feet times 119 price per square. So that, well, that messed up. Hold on, let's do that
okay,
again.
you're doing the math right.
What is
So
it? 319, and then we would add what times 119? No,
you would do, no, give me the number of,
2074 minus 1756 is 318. So
Okay,
318 and the
Multiply.
half,
uh-huh.
the adjustment would be 119. We would
So
add,
so multiply those two.
I did, and it's not, it's coming up 37. So 37,842. I'm just,
The 37,000 based on that, we would add to 420. So based on that little like adjustment that the lady had
Yeah.
shown, what Shelley's saying is she did that little thing and she's bumped me up now to 457. So 450 is what I'm thinking. Colleen was thinking 425, but I think 450. Yeah. And she found this one because see, we have had that square footage stipulation, and that's why you wanted to remove it, because now it is significantly lower than we want, but just like that, we did that quick math and made the adjustment, and now we're at 457. I don't think that that's bad. Thank you for that, Shelley, because I kind of got, well, I was going to take my time and do all of those adjustments, and then I ran out of time like 4
their
minutes.
offer was also cash. So, I'm sure that, that.
Did y'all know that you can see that too? Cash right here, how they bought the house. Mm-hmm. So I like that. I mean, I'm glad that, thank you for using that method. Did you like that method, Shelley?
I did like that. I did learn that from,
Yeah.
that's definitely something I'll take away from the class.
Okay, good. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna dissolve this class and I'll wrap up with the people in here, but did y'all have any questions? The Zoomers, I can't really see you anymore, so let me see. But if not, thanks for coming.
Thanks,
there.
Brooklyn.
Okay. I can't see y'all, so I don't even know who's there, but bye.
Bye.